This version of It's Eric Nagel has been modified from its original broadcast. Content has been edited to fit this platform. It's Eric Nagel. It's Eric Nagel. He is back.
Segment 2 of the show. Eric Jordan here with you. Normally, during this segment, we talk about television, movies, streaming updates, but we kind of did an abridged version in segment 1. So we did segment 2 in segment 1. So this is now going to be alternate universe segment 2.
Where we're going to talk radio hour.
Yeah. We've got a bunch of radio stuff, industry stuff to play and go over with you and try to figure out what the hell is going on in this world. But before we do that, do want to promote that a new episode of The Consumer is out and about. Go and find it here on our YouTube channel. It's Eric Nagel. It's episode 3, I believe. This is the one we did. Now, we're starting to catch up. We still have several more that are in the can before we get back to current day and age of snacking. But if you want to do us kindness, go over there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's Eric Nagel on YouTube. Go check out episode 3 of The Consumer. And, of course, the whole back catalog of It's Eric Nagel and all that fun stuff.
I do like when you're catching up because you put these graphics up and I'm like, oh, that's right. We did eat those. Mm-hmm. I forgot completely about those pineapple Doritos.
You did.
They're not out anymore.
No, they're not. I wish those were still out. I wish they had the spicy pickle Ruffles.
Yeah, me too.
Those were fantastic too. But, of course, no. Why would they do that? Because that would make fucking sense to do that. Anyway, all right. We need to go through a whole bunch of radio here stuff. So, Jordan, I am interested in all your thoughts on these things here. Feel free to tell me to stop, pause videos, wherever you want to chime in. I will do the same here. Trying to figure out what's been going on. So, in the last few weeks, there has been another round of layoffs happening in the industry. Shows being pulled apart and, I don't want to say destroyed because that's not the case, but pretty damn close to getting there when you're gutting the personnel that makes up these shows. And they just do it because they think, well, this show has too many people on it, so we're going to get rid of them. Or this person makes too much money, we're going to get rid of them. Look, they had by they, I mean the industry, certain companies, had a pretty profitable year for the 2023 fiscal year, if you want to call it that. I don't know where they're going to see this money again coming next year when you've gutted thousands of people in the last year and programs and what have you. In fact, one company, which we'll get to in a little while, bought up a bunch of the ESPN affiliates around the country and have stopped broadcasting on FM, have stopped broadcasting on AM. They decided to give up the licenses for all the stations they just bought and said, you know what? We're going to move on and do it digitally. You can get it through our app. You can get it through YouTube. You can through all these things. We don't really need the AM, FM frequency anymore. Now, there's a lot of logic in that, but it doesn't hurt to have the broadcast spectrum of the AM and FM to maybe simulcast a lot of your stuff. But operating costs being what they are, they may not need... There's one company that's doing this. It'll be interesting to see if other companies start doing this within the next few years. This one company is leading the way. But again, we'll get into that a little bit. So, we're going to start off with a show that I'm very familiar with. They were, when I was down working in Florida for the Real Radio Network, I was out of their West Palm Beach station, but we had to do stuff with their affiliate in Orlando. And this show was called Monsters of the Midday back in the day. But then when Clear Channel had that thing with Howard after the Super Bowl with the Janet Jackson thing, and they got rid of Howard off of all their stations, they moved the midday show up to the mornings, and they had like 9 people on the show, and they've been there ever since, but the faces have come and gone from what I remember down there. And that was 20 something years ago when I was working down there. They're a very small version of what it used to be. And they're even smaller now because they let go one of the main co-hosts of the show. A man named Carlos Navarro, who was back in the day they called him Black Bean, which was hilarious and inappropriate for now. But still, I would love to see if he came back. If this was like a wrestling thing, he came back with the Mr. America mask like Hulk Hogan did.
Right.
Carlos comes back a couple weeks later and he's back. Black Bean's back on the show. I doubt that'll happen. Would be funny if it did. So they let him go. He had been on the show like 22 years.
Sheesh.
And they let him go. Now, how they let him go and what happened around there is not surprising and yet curious at the same time. Because it seems like the way radio does things, but then you're also like, this doesn't make any fucking sense to do this now. And to a show that was generating a lot of money for that station and pretty much keeping that station afloat. After Howard left, there were two shows that anybody really cared about on that station. It was The Monsters, and it was a guy named Jim Phillips who was on in the afternoon, and he's a legacy guy. He had been there forever. Now, Jim retired a few years back, so he's gone. The Monsters are the pillar show for that station. If Russ and that show go, I don't know how that station stays on board because, no offense to the other shows on there, I don't know any of the other shows on there, but nobody's talking about them. There's nobody online. There's no clips going anywhere, even like a guest on their show. The trades aren't talking about them. They're probably fine, but overall, they're not generating anything. And the Monsters do. The Monsters still show up, and when they do the Talkers top 50, 100 shows in the country or whatever, they're constantly high up on the list. So this is 104.1 in Orlando, WTKS. Real Radio is the moniker. There's a Real Radio Orlando. There's West Palm. I don't know if the other affiliates still exist. There used to be a Real Radio in Sarasota, in Macon, Georgia, in, I want to say Fort Myers. I think there was one there too. Not familiar. I have to go look and see what's going on there. So here's Russ. This is Monday, March 25th, where he's making the announcement that Carlos is being has been let go. They let him go after the show on Friday.
Sheesh.
Typical move. Let's take a listen to this.
So now let's go back to last Friday. We had to move to the top towards 10 o'clock. Never done that before, but we do it at 10 o'clock. Great to the top. Everything is wonderful. And then something that shocked me happened. Right after the show, there's Jack Bradshaw standing right there. Now, he is never here after the show. That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
And
I don't know who that is.
I was going to say it's probably with their PD or something, maybe?
No, I don't
Or
think
like
it's
a
their
higher
PD,
up.
but I think it might be. Well, they used to be like general man. They don't use the titles anymore. General. It's probably like market manager. Like he oversees the entire market of all their stations.
Jack walks in.
He
And
doesn't come in this building 259.
yeah, we don't ever really see him, right? Jack walks in, and I'm standing here, and Ryan's there, and Savannah's just leaving, and Carlos is there, and we're all going, man, that was a lot of fun today. It was a great show. Jack comes in, and I'm like, that's weird. And Jack says, man, you guys were great today. I'm like, oh, thank you. Now,
What a great show.
what a great show. Now, the person that really appreciated it, because Carlos
You're going to
is
notice
like me.
with this show here, it's meant for Florida. This show,
Yeah.
it's not quite Southern, but it's Southernish Florida. All the characters on here, you're like, yeah, this makes sense. It works for that market.
And this is the morning show, right? The Monsters in the Morning, right?
Monsters in the Morning, yeah.
Got it.
We like words of affirmation, right? That's our thing. Angel doesn't care about that. Ryan doesn't care about that. You know, there are other things they like. We like words of affirmation. So as soon as someone says, man, you had a great show, Carlos is like, thank you so much for saying that. Like he really appreciated it. And I know that he did because I'm the same way. You know, I like to hear, good words. To me, that's the most important thing. And so Carlos says, thank you, Jack. It really means a lot that you said that. And Jack's like, yeah, that's, no problem. And then he says, hey, man, can I talk to you in the conference room over there? And I'm like,
That's not good.
No. Man.
Yeah, right.
I know what that means.
Yeah, they walked out and Russ immediately goes, That's not good.
I'm
like, what? No, of course. He's just going to go talk to him in the conference room.
Yeah, Ryan goes, he just told him how great of a show he had. I said, bro, I've been doing this 30 years. When they meet you after the show on a Friday and say, let's go talk in a conference room, it's not, hey, we've decided you're so funny, we're going to give you a raise. That ain't what it is. It's bad. And Ryan's like, you're being I'm like, okay, I'm telling you. I
thought you were overreacting.
I know. You told me I'm overreacting. I said, bro, I've been doing this a while. Now, you're in another room.
Yeah.
Did you know? Like, as soon as that happens, you've been around long enough. You knew what was up, right?
I didn't know that specifically. I knew something was up. The build up to what's everything that's gone on for the last couple months. So for Jack to show up on a Friday, I thought,
it's weird.
And I had made my own comments to him about that, and I was like, hey, let me know.
Yeah. So we're cleaning up the studio.
Now pause it real quick.
And then Jack comes back in.
He's talking about lead up. Like, was there any animosity with Black Bean, Carlos, or whatever? Like, was there any issues, or was there behind the scenes like financial issues? Was like the numbers were down?
Working? Why am I not hearing? They're going to
Nope. Stop touching things. Here it comes.
I'm being asked to come to the conference room. Sorry.
I was going to say, we're going to need to see you in the conference room.
No, there was no problems. Like, it is a money thing.
Right.
And they'll explain that coming up here. If I can get this fucking thing working. Another thing, too, Carlos may not be known to a lot of people from the radio, but he's had a lot of small parts in a lot of movies and television shows. But the one I think you might know him best for, he was part of the Kingdom on The Walking Dead.
Oh, wow.
He was like the right-hand guy to the guy who ran the Kingdom, if you remember that storyline.
Yeah.
In there.
Okay.
If you look up Carlos, you'll see that he was in a lot of episodes for that storyline of The Walking Dead. All right, moving on.
With Carlos, and Carlos looks at me, and he puts out his hand. He goes, I just got fired. And I'm like, whoa. No,
he goes, it's a pleasure working with you.
Pleasure working with you.
All these years.
I just got fired, or something like that. And
how shitty is that? Like, you've been there. Look, he hasn't been there consecutively 22 years. There was a time where he left on his own accord, I think. And he was gone for a while, and then he came back. But not being able to say anything, where you have to walk back into the room to Russ, who is essentially like your immediate boss for the show, and you've worked with him for 20-something years, and you just got to stick out your hand and go, it's been a pleasure to work with you. Now, that's classy on Carlos's part. But this just shows you what shit that is, that you have to walk into everybody you just finished a show with.
Right.
And you go, it was nice working with you guys, because they need to escort you out of the building.
I was going to say, the fact that they let him even interact with people is actually pretty surprising to me, because I've seen people, I worked mainly in office settings, and you would see like, hey, can I come see you in a minute? And you knew, you're right, that as soon as they're going into the break, the conference room or break room or whatever, you knew that's it for them. And half the time they don't let them clear their desk out. They escort them out. They'll pack up the box and then they'll mail it out to them. They don't let you talk to anybody. They walk you out, and then that's it. The fact that he got to even do that was very surprising.
I can't do it on this show because we have too much other shit. But one day I'll reiterate the story of when I left Sirius, how bad they messed everything up, and just screwed up a lot of things, and then didn't even walk me out. The HR person left because they had now a legal issue to deal with my exit thing. I walked around, no security, no nothing. I went back down to my office. I talked to a bunch of people and told them, this is my last day. I'm leaving. They forgot about me because they had all this other nonsense, and they don't pay attention. But anyway, it's a longer, more involved
Phantom
story.
of the Opera type stuff. You're just up in the rafters watching people do other shows.
Right. So, anyway.
That's just crazy. Yeah, that's just crazy.
It's terrible. Continuing on here. Or maybe not.
I was legitimately shocked because I had
my jaw was on the floor.
I'm like, what? And then
I thought he was doing a bit.
No, he was not. He was not bitten. He was not skit bitten. And then And then Jack's like, hey, I'll come back and talk to you. Now, what they do is they've got this is protocol. You got to do what you got to do. This is the way radio is. They got to walk you out.
That's had any office job, man.
Any office job.
Everybody's going to do the same thing. Right. But as soon as you're been let go at that precise moment, you cease to be an employee.
Yeah. So, and then listen, Jack is not the bad guy here. Jack works for a corporation, and they tell him what to do, and he's got to do what he's got to do.
This is company-wide.
I'm not throwing
Never defend the
Jack
management.
on the bus here. I'm just telling you, this is
when you lost a crucial part of your show.
And it was a company-wide thing.
I know what Russ is doing. I know why he's doing it, but don't do it on the air. Don't defend the management, even if it wasn't their fault. And this seems like it did come from way higher up in iHeart, because they kept saying that this was not a decision made on the local level, which we'll hear in a few minutes. Don't defend management ever. Don't do that.
Or other people, and we're not going to talk about anyone else but the one that we're working with. Everyone else, you can find out somewhere else about it. But other people, in radio were let go as well. They decided to what do you call that? The workforce, shrink the workforce for whatever reason, and they sit back. Somebody sits back with numbers and looks at what they do, what they don't do, and this kind of stuff, and they make decisions that way. I don't
know what happened. Russ, that's a terrible pause. There we go. That's worse too. But I'm sorry, Russ. Russ used to have like this big fucking blonde mullet kind of thing, like he was an '80s rock star. I don't know what happened.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a more. This isn't going to work. I apologize. I'm trying to find a more.
Looks like he's in mid sneeze.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what happened.
Nothing.
Maybe just age, whatever. But he used to have like big, long blonde hair and stuff.
I was
going to say, growing up, radio personalities never look the way they sound.
No,
like hearing this guy's voice, I don't think I would put that look on him. Even the way you're describing with the the blonde hair, I would have never probably known what he looked like.
Right.
And it's just so crazy to sometimes see that behind the scenes, because back in the day there was really not a lot of, you didn't get to see a lot of the personalities.
No, the only time you saw them was if their picture was in the newspaper, or if something fucked up happened, they were on the local news,
right? Or
if you happened to be at a live event and they had the postcards or something with the jock's photo on there, or the talk show host photo.
It's the same bit from Wayne's World 2. It's Handsome Dan.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at Terry Shear.
Oh, it's like shooting pigs in a barrel, or fish in a barrel, whatever. And he's like, he just ducks. Oh, yeah, getting closer all the time. He didn't listen.
Wayne stock.
It's such a great clip.
Not here locally. This decision was made in New York. There's somebody looking at a spreadsheet.
They don't even listen to the show.
And there's a number that they're trying to get to, and what's the easiest course of action to get to that number?
Yeah, how much does this guy make? Whoa, he makes a lot.
Well,
I don't know if it was made in New York.
New
iHeart's
York
out of
and
San
LA
Antonio.
are the only places with
main office,
show members on, with that many show members on.
Yeah.
And so it's New York, LA, and Orlando. And I remember hearing that weeks ago going, uh-oh.
I told you that. I've heard that like 5.
Very southern Florida. I don't know who the guy is, but yeah, he's for that market.
5 times. And they asked me, now, what does everybody do on your show? I'm like, well, so I gave out this, long description of what everybody does. Obviously, I talked about how funny Carlos was. I said how he kind of keeps me abreast of things that I'm not aware of.
That's not good, too.
No, when you get that polling the other workers bit.
Well, it's not even the other workers, so it's like Ross is the head of the show.
Right.
So, hey, so what does that guy do? I've been through a few rounds of that, both with CBS and with Sirius. We need a list of your responsibilities and your items and what your goals are.
Worst.
Here's I would send them the list because I had it saved, because when this would come around again, here you go. Well, what are your goals? All right, I'll get that to you. I never handed the goal list in, because never doing that. Here's everything I'm responsible for. Well, what are your goals? To make the show better and keep the show going so that we don't lose the show. I wish the host followed that logic, but that was not the case. And we all know how that worked
because he's got a different, he lives in a different world than I do, so it kind of keeps me with cooler things than I normally check, he does the voices, very energetic, like everything positive I could say, and like I did with all you guys, And wait.
The
end of it. They just wanted to know what everybody
So he doesn't go to management?
So
that's never good.
He doesn't go down to management and shit talk the other people on his show? or the other employees around his show, or other management or engineers or everybody else that does something involved with his show, the production guys with his show. He doesn't go down and shit on them all the time to management. He said something positive to the management. That's not a concept I'm familiar with, but it's good to see that if that's the case. Yeah, radio's just different everywhere.
Right,
you think you understand
you saying that you had to do that? And I'm like, the rumblings and the grumblings is like, oh man, this is whatever's happening. It just felt like we had more time though. Like, like it's like, all right, we'll go through definitely at least one
looks
more
like he should be running a gator farm down south.
Yeah. So
getting your propane tanks at
I'm
Home
flabbergasted.
Unlocking the cage.
We sat afterwards and
lugging
talked
the
to
Christmas
Rick Everett,
trees
who's
during the
big
holiday
program
times.
director, and we talked to Jack for a while and about how we're going to go forward and blah 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 blah.
By the way, I'm getting some intel. So the Jack Bradshaw guy,
okay,
is I guess overseeing. He's sort of like I think it's called brand manager now or market man, something like that. It's not general manager anymore. I forgot what iHeart calls him. He's overseeing that, but he also produces the afternoon show to show you how skeletal that staff is down in Orlando. That the guy overseeing the place is also producing the afternoon drive time show.
Jeez.
That's unheard of. I've heard of producers having to do voice track shifts in other states, other markets. For all that stuff, they got to write 1 million blog posts. They got to do promotions. They got to do 9 other different things other than their main responsibility. I've never heard the producer of an afternoon drive time show, oh, can you oversee the cluster of stations that we have as well? That's insane.
Why this is happening, how it's happening in other markets and with other people, even here in Orlando, and it's like, okay, all right, well,
yeah. Around that,
so I get
around that time, a lot of other people around the country were also. It wasn't just Orlando or Florida. A lot of other people were being let go from iHeart at the time.
In the car, and I call Carlos right away. Not knowing if because he's known for having a hot temper at times, but and he and I have butted heads, a couple times, but not like I've known Carlos since he was 18. In a weird kind of way, I feel like I'm saying I raised him, but I mean, like I knew him when he was a kid, and I feel like I helped him go through radio and all this kind of stuff, and I have a love for the guy. I mean, I love his family, his wife, his kids. I mean, we've butted heads a couple times, but that's only you got two Brahma bulls. That's going to happen every once in a while. But with that being said, I mean, I love the guy, and I feed off him. I would feed off him all the time. And obviously, I'm going to miss him. Obviously, I didn't want this to happen. So called him right away, and he couldn't have been kinder. Couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have thanked me more. Couldn't have been.
In the parking lot.
He was shocked. I mean, he's got.
We waved him from the 4th floor.
He's got a car to pay for. He's got
them kids.
Now he does have other things going on. He's got To the Top Carlos.
Oh my God! Imagine it's like that scene in You ever see About Schmidt?
I love About Schmidt.
All right. So he's walking out the front, like after his meetings and his exit interview and everything. He walks around to the parking garage for his car, and he sees just like custodial staff dumping all the shit from his office into a dumpster as he's leaving.
Which, you still can go to that. And he's going to be doing his motivational speaking. He's going to do more acting. We talked, and obviously it can't happen like right away because of whatever legalities or.
Hold on a second. Tom from Alberta. So eventually it will be a producer's job to fire himself. Yes, I just got an email from corporate. I've been let go.
I'm going to have to let me go now.
I'll see myself out.
I was just looking up Carlos's thing, and he was in Hawkeye. That's where I recognized him. He was one of the tracksuit mafia dudes.
Yes, that's right. Yes, he was.
Yeah, so I was like, wait a minute,
Pinhead's
I know that
tracksuit guys. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, maybe that was the more famous role than Walking Dead. I just remembered him as part of the Kingdom from Walking Dead.
And I look forward to the opportunity, maybe down the road, some other time, being able to work with him again. This is not anything on Carlos or anything. This is just the nature of this particular industry. This is the third or fourth one of these that I've gone through,
I was surprised when you said you had
maybe
been let go through one of these before.
Yeah, I've been let go through when they have done this twice, And, on both occasions, it was like, hey, listen, we need you to sit tight for, 30 days, sit tight for 45 days, and then we can bring you back in a different capacity. Not saying that anything like that is what
I'll never understand that. It's like, hey, we need to let you go. And I've seen it happen to other people. I've seen other people who've gotten their jobs back. Mm-hmm. Back on shows, back at stations, whatever. I just go, like, what was the fucking point? It's like, hey, we needed to cut the salary list there for a month, for 2 months, and then we reorganize. Who reorganizes in 2 months and then you bring the people back? Is it for the same amount of money they were getting? Is it much less than they were getting? Makes no sense.
I couldn't go back to a company after being let go and then be told, we'll bring you back, but for less money.
Really?
No, I'll just go find another job.
That's just, I know how radio is, but if you've been through 3 or 4 rounds of people being laid off, and like this guy, I believe his name is Angel, saying it's happened to him twice when he was let go and he had to sit and wait for a while and then came back. I mean, a job's a job and you're doing what you love, I guess. But then when it's like, there's just no respect in this industry at all. At all. Let's see if we can finish up with this because we got other stuff.
Don't touch it.
What? Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. No, it's cause we got to let some time go by. Like it's a thing. As of right now, there have been cuts around the board, around the country with a lot of different shows. And then, we're a show that
And this is how they started their Monday
show.
show.
Why do you need 4 people? This guy in Idaho, he's got only him and a producer. Why does Russ Rollins need 3 other people? Kind of a thing. So they don't understand the way the show was built and the way that it is because they don't really listen. They just look at the numbers. So
yeah, that's exactly what it is. So that I give you that clip. To start this off, where that's happened 2 weeks ago. Now, we're gonna go into a. Do we do this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we do this one here. Okay, so we get into this. There one. Massive change because this just happened on Tuesday. Now, I think they wanted to do it Monday, but I think people would have thought, oh, it's an April Fool's joke. But it turned out to be a major corporate change, what they're doing here. This is my buddy Josh Cohen. I worked on his show for a tiny bit down in the West Palm Beach market. He's been afternoon drive on the ESPN West Palm station for several years now, since leaving Real Radio down there. The company that owns the ESPN affiliates is not ESPN. It's not Disney. There was all the radio stuff was sold off. The company that owns it is called Good Karma, and it's a newer company that's owned by the son of our old boss Mel Karmazin, who used to own Infinity Broadcasting. Was the man responsible for hiring Howard in New York and launching Howard into syndication. All that you know the name if you've ever listened to Howard, you know who Mel Karmazin is. Mel Karmazin was also our boss the first time around with Opie and Anthony in the afternoon, having to fire the show after the Sex for Sam stunt, and then when we went to SiriusXM after the merger, was our boss yet again. So Mel's son, with some other partners, started up this Good Karms brand, and they've been buying up all these ESPN affiliates and some other stations. And their philosophy for a lot of this is that the FM isn't necessary anymore, or the AM signal is not necessary anymore. And they've been turning off stations. Here in New York, it made big news several months ago. The ESPN station here in New York, 98.7, was licensing the station, the frequency. The frequency was still owned by another company, but ESPN was essentially renting the frequency, right?
Right.
They terminated their agreement, and they said, hey, we're not going to be using the FM anymore. We don't need it, and then let it go. So ESPN is not on broadcast. It's streaming digitally. It's on television. It's on their apps. It's all everywhere else but an actual radio signal. They've been doing it for stations all around the country, and now it just happened in West Palm Beach, which the West Palm Beach station does gangbusters for that company. It brings in a lot of money and is a focus of a lot of things because there's a lot of sports stuff that happens. You don't think West Palm Beach being really anything if you're not familiar with the city. But they have championship PGA courses down there. Trump's Mar-a-Lago is down there. International. There's an international airport that services the world for people to come down there. They have baseball teams not far from there. About half an hour from West Palm Beach is the big Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida, and you get a lot of athletes down there retiring or play during their off seasons or whatever. And it's tied pretty much into New York. A lot of New York stuff happens in connection with West Palm Beach down there.
Right.
So I don't know what Josh knows, and I talked to him. He can't talk right now, which I fully get. I invited him on. He had to give this announcement, and it's not easy to do when you have to do this, but I don't fully understand the dynamics of this deal, of what they're doing. We're going to hear about what's going on here. Can you hear this?
That are taking place.
Yes.
Massive changes.
A little loud.
Significant to such that we've never seen at ESPN West Palm previously.
Is that better?
I have to make the
echo.
announcement to you all today, too, that today is the final day of Josh Cohen and the home team on the radio here on ESPN 106.3. That is not to say that I am going anywhere. It just means that as we are now moving into a digital age of podcasts and video content that people can listen to on demand as they so choose in the locations like social media platforms and YouTube, that we are going where the people are going as opposed to staying where the people, it appears, are nationally to some degree leaving.
It's like the old Chris Rock bit where it's like, this is the mall people used to go to. You know, this is the new mall, and that's the mall people used to go to. That's sort of what he's saying. It's like people aren't hanging around for the FM frequency as much anymore based on their research and analytics and all that. I
wonder if it...
Go ahead.
I'm wondering if it's because of the shift in how people work now. Because like for me, because I work from home primarily, I don't listen to the radio.
Yeah, they're still in your car. You know, people who are traveling, there's truckers, people doing shipping. If you're in a city that they just do deliveries and stuff, you're in your car all the time.
Right, but that
phone
workforce
service
probably shrank.
Yeah, but even if the workforce didn't, the way you can service technology now is better than it's ever been. It's not perfect, and it's only going to get more available in places, but you can download podcasts to your phone. You can download videos to your phone while you're driving, while you're working, whatever. You can live stream music from Spotify. You can live stream radio stuff off iHeart's app or the whatever that other talk radio app is. I forget what it's called. But you can get all this stuff now when you want and more accessible. Now, that's not to say that people don't want to hear stuff live, because they do. Sometimes you can tolerate a show that's pre-recorded and maybe it's not dated material. It's more universal or something like that. But sometimes you want to hear shows where they're reacting to the latest news of something. Like he does sports. So you hear they want to hear the latest, people getting cut from a roster or draft picks or somebody died or somebody bought a new team. Like they want to hear these people's opinions. So you want that stuff.
Well, and that's a format where, like, for me, I don't ever watch on-demand sports. I don't go back and watch pre-recorded football games. Right. I don't sit there and, tape something to watch later. I would think that this would be the format that, you would want to listen to live. You want to get that take on what just happened, because that's the thing about the sports world, is that it's always moving. There's always something going on.
Yeah, sports, talk radio, religious radio, political radio. any of those things where it's not
Right.
just music, where you have some sort of personality programming. People will listen to pre-recorded shows when it's about stuff that's not instant or it's not immediate, or it doesn't even have to be stuff that happened earlier in the day. But you do like listening to and watching people when things happen. Like you get up in the morning and you're watching and listening to shows in the morning. By the time the afternoon comes, sometimes if it's a slow day, it's the same stuff you heard in the morning. But the way everything moves now, by the time the afternoon show comes on, holy shit, there's like 4 other new things that just happened. And you want to hear people's opinions. You want to be able to, one of the great things about talk radio is people want to come in and be part of it. They want to call in. They want to text in. When you're streaming stuff on YouTube or on Twitch or those kind of things, their version of doing it is doing super chats or doing bits and doing things like that where they can donate to get their message to your attention to bring up on the screen as if they're, they want to be part of the show.
Yeah, it's a digital version of the call-in.
And that's what talk radio has or personality programming has that music radio does not. You can listen to music anytime, and you can listen to it in the background whether you're doing other things, or you can listen to it in the foreground where you're sitting and relaxing outside or in your house and you just want to listen to music. But that's not always going to be driving people to the radio.
Yeah.
Programming is. Shows are. Personalities are. That's what brings in the money in the long run. And when these people have been around for so long and earning the money, rightfully so, for doing the job for so long, companies go, well, I don't want to pay that anymore. I'll just get somebody newer and to do it.
Yeah, we'll move up the next guy.
But it doesn't work. Like, say you had Seinfeld, right? You're back in the days of Seinfeld. Seinfeld's making a ton of money for NBC. And then they're commanding, $1 million an episode. And you could go and say, hey, look, I know they're doing well for us, but I don't want to pay $1 million an episode. So we're just going to let Seinfeld go. We're not going to renew it. It's number 1 in the ratings. It's bringing in a ton of money for your ad revenue. But yeah, you know what? I just don't want to spend that money. I'd rather, make our numbers look better on the other end so it looks like we're increasing our profit. Okay, that's a temporary fix for that numbers, but then you go into the next fiscal year, the next rating season. Why aren't we making the money? Because you fired everybody that was making the money for you.
Yeah.
This, not so much the case. The company's trying something new. They're getting rid of the FM frequency, and they're going strictly to digital here. We'll let Josh continue.
So it just makes smart business sense, as you might imagine, to be where the people are, as opposed to asking them to leave to come to where you are. I will say this. The Home Team brand is a very, very powerful and a very, very memorable in this market, in the Treasure Coast market, in the Space Coast market.
This is all the West Palm Beach
entity.
Surrounding areas.
Josh Cohen and the Home Team will not disappear. It merely will not air here on ESPN 106.3 on a daily basis on our radio station here. Okay? You'll be updated. Stay tuned to my social media.
This is new territory for me. This is interesting to follow. And the fact that I know somebody who's involved in this or affected by this is really interesting because this is brand new territory that I'm not overly familiar with. This is a bit of a, you could say it's a gamble because no other companies are doing it this way. I'd like to see where this goes and if it does pay off. This is something new, at least, if some people are getting laid off. Again, it sucks. But if this is something that could revolutionize the business and the way business is done, I'm all about seeing where this goes. And if getting rid of the FM, you don't need to have radio on radio anymore. Podcasts have proven that. YouTube has proven that.
This is something I was just about to bring up, so I'll bring up Tom real quick here. It does seem to make sense. How much can simulcasting to FM be? I was wondering that too. Like, how do you make this transition to digital and not have a slower ramp up to the actual?
Because there maybe the license is up for renewal. And the license for an FM frequency is millions of dollars.
But if they knew it was coming up for renewal and they made this choice, like, did they just make this the day before they were going to be up for renewal? Or if they knew about this, why not have Josh prepare his audience for this transition? You know, you got people that maybe, I mean, you're right. If the masses are here, then you're not letting down a large amount of people.
Right.
But if you're an avid radio listener, this is your daily commute. This is your show that you listen to. This is what you have on your dial and you don't change it. You come in the next day and now you don't have that. How likely are you to make that switch to the digital platform to listen to that? Because there have been shows that I've listened to before on the radio back when I was like really into listening to radio. That maybe I just didn't do the on-demand stuff because it didn't feel organic. It felt like now it was curated for me, and sometimes that curation doesn't feel organic. You don't catch the live bit or something that just happened. It just feels weird that would be.
It could be also a couple of things. One of them is usually this: when there's a firing or a show being let go or something. Frankie Bronson in the chat. It can feel like a lot. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Because the audience is always the last to know because you might stop listening. Yes, they're afraid of people turning them off the preset or turning off the radio and going to somewhere else. It's also in the case of a firing, a dismissal, being let go, a downsizing, whatever you want to call it. They don't want the people to go on the air and shit talk the company.
Yeah, and that I understand. That
there's been examples.
There's a complete real reason to have that.
This people is have been let go, but then they got their go back on the air, and then they just start,
everything.
And they don't care about the fines, the license being in jeopardy, all that nonsense. So that could be.
It's the same reason why you have to escort people out. There will be that certain people. This is different though, where the show isn't going away. It's just going to a different way, different modality of accessing it.
Yes and no, because he starts talking a little bit more in here, and something's not making sense. And I think I don't think it's him not telling the audience. It could be, I don't know. I think it's that he doesn't even know. Like he mentions like there's other ways that they're going to be putting his show out and stuff he's going to be doing, but it hasn't been sorted out. Like the details aren't there yet for what he's going to do. So he doesn't have the answers for it.
That is so weird to not have.
That's why I said this is new territory for dealing with a radio or television.
We're like, hey, this is your last day for the show in its iteration. We're going to do something new. We don't quite know yet. We'll see what happens.
Right. All right. Let's see what else he says.
Right.
As well as to our station, social media platforms, and our ESPN West Palm Play channel. But just know, for people that find comfort in the home team thing, because it is representative of the people, of us, you'd be foolish to throw away that brand. So I refuse to do that. It just will not air here on ESPN 106.3 FM is a live radio show. So that leaves me and Tina and CCAT. You are going to
see, that doesn't mean firing.
Right.
In this, and if he was doing this on an iHeart station or a Cumulus station or something like that, that usually means that, we're going to start our own podcast and when we're done here. But this doesn't mean that like a firing anything. This means like, well, the company, it's well known and documented, is not doing terrestrial broadcasting anymore. They're doing all digital. So there's so many questions. I'm kind of confused by some of this.
See us, you are going to hear us on our content, on shows in short form and as well radio that exists here on 106.3, as well as on our, again, ESPN West Palm Play channel on YouTube.
See, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Doesn't make, because he said like the show's not going to be on the station anymore.
Here, back it up just a couple seconds. I want to hear that last part again.
Okay, there
we go.
Cat, you are going to see us. You are going to hear us on our content, on shows in short form and as well radio that exists here on 106.3, as well as on our, again, ESPN West Palm Play channel on YouTube. So my advice would be, if you haven't already subscribed, do that, because this is where you're going to see and hear C-Cat, Tina, and predominantly myself. So we're in a little bit of a zone right now, the rest of this week of radio, where a lot of details still need to be figured out, and as well as, of course, on the YouTube channel and what it's going to be.
This will be Tuesday
doing new shows that will be exclusive to our digital, that will be exclusive to our YouTube channel, ESPN West Palm Play, subscribe, and also to our social media platforms. So you will see me and hear me there. There will be a radio component as well, but details on that are still being worked out.
So they are keeping the wait.
It sounds like the frequency is going to be there, but the format and how they present their media is going to be different. So, like, this show doesn't exist in this form on that frequency, but it almost sounds like, you know how SNL, you know, they put out their show on TV and then they chop it up for YouTube.
Right.
It sounds like they're going to be doing just chopped up segments that will be played wherever they want to put it. I don't know. That's so weird.
I'm looking at an article where there was another show, I guess on before Josh's, Ken Levicka, who had done his thing on his show, that his show was done and it wasn't going to be airing there anymore. Skimming through the article here, the guy's been at that station for 17 years.
Damn.
He's quoted as saying, "You may occasionally hear me in a recorded capacity doing something the next couple of weeks, but I'm out. So what's going to happen next? I don't know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that my chance to reach that next rung while I'm still enough in my prime and still have the energy to pursue this. I don't know what that means. I don't know what my ceiling is. I do know that I've been assured by the good folks at Good Karma brand. I kept saying Good Karma brands are going to help me get to the point where I can discover what that ceiling is." So
it's like, hey, we're not going to fire you, but we don't know what we're going to do with you yet.
So we took you off the radio, but we're going to do other stuff with you. We're going to put you somewhere else. We're going to do other things with you.
We're going to find another
and then
position
air clips of that back. Oh my God. So if this is like the Sirius XM thing where while we were there, we used to do Saturday programming on our channel, the Opie and Anthony channel. And when it became Faction Talk, we'd have on Saturday, we'd have podcasts of our comic friends that would run on Saturday through the evening to give you alternate programming on our channel that wasn't just Best of Us. Right. So we had Joe Rogan Experience. We had Bill Burr's podcast. We had Robert Kelly. We had Rich Voss. We had sometimes Colin Quinn would do a thing. Dr. Steve's Weird Medicine. Kevin Smith's Smodcast. A year after he launched the podcast, then was carried on our channel. Like, we were ahead of all of this shit. And then Sirius got to the point where they started scrapping all the Saturday programs. Like, they didn't see a point of supporting podcasts. Now, their whole model is they don't want to pay for people to do radio. Well, not a lot of people, but most of the people, they don't want to pay to have them do radio shows on satellite, which is then put out on demand in podcast form, best ofs, whatever. They want to get podcasts that are already done and put that on the radio. So it's reversing the process, and they probably don't have to pay as much. So instead of getting a show that we developed and that we own and we market and trademark,
cultivate it, yeah,
and then put it out for podcast consumption and on demand, well, we can get somebody else's product that's already established, make a deal, and then put that on our radio. And that'll be cheaper than paying actual personalities and talent to perform shows live nationwide on their channels and their platform. So
that's
maybe
why
this is something
Wednesday
like
of next week, you can hear I'll Watch It Later podcast on AM 920 Deportes.
Very nice.
Yeah. You said no talent, easy, cheap.
No, I'm just picturing your show on Deportes where
Could you imagine?
it's the English version very low and then the Spanish overdub on top of it, but we can kind of hear you guys in the background.
Yeah. Like a weird echo in English.
So I'm wondering what they're doing here. So are they reversing the process where they're putting Josh and the other people on the station, having to do their stuff digitally and then taking the digital content and putting that back on the radio?
Seems
where
really ridiculous.
It's less money, I guess. He doesn't have a big show. And I don't know what he's been in the market for almost 30 years, since 99. So he does command a set price because of what he's done. Mornings, and like he's a market legend for down there. And he's a ratings. He brings in ratings. He brings in he does a ton of ambassador work. Like you don't see it here, but when they do a solo shot, he's got the Celsius fridge in the back. He's a brand ambassador for them. He gets a hell of a lot of endorsements. Like the guy makes money wherever he is for himself and for whoever he's working for.
Do you think it's a contract thing where in the contract, like digital, like his show digitally would get him less money, so they move him to there? Still maintain contract and then can chop it up and redistribute it?
But you could do that with the radio show. You can do the radio show live, get the caller interaction, be topical for the topics at hand. If stuff's breaking, you still got it. And then chop it up and put pieces up out on podcasts as quick hits on YouTube, Instagram videos, TikTok videos. You can do all of that stuff. In fact, that you can't just do a radio show anymore nowadays. You have to have a video component. You have to have a social media component. You have to have all of this stuff. You can't just go and sit on the radio and that's it anymore.
Nope.
Which is great.
Be easily
it sucks for a lot of the old people in this business because they just want to come in, do what they do, and then leave and not have to do all the rest of the stuff or put any other extra effort into what they're doing. They don't want to evolve and change with the times.
Right.
But I think it's a great time right now for doing radio. As shitty as management is and the fact that there's no positions for a lot of people, that you get to go and you do this. We get to talk how we like to talk, you know? We can have that's another conversation about, I was talked to about bringing a phone line in, and I don't know if I want to do that, but we could take live callers if we want. We have the live chat. We can do all these things. Then you can take the show, cut it every which way you need to for video clips, for YouTube, for all of that stuff. But now back to my attempt at understanding this. Are they reversing it where they're like, well, we're going to have you do all this other stuff and then put that on the radio instead of you sitting there doing the radio show? I don't know. And I guess whenever he can talk about it, he'll talk about it. But this is what was put out right now. And I don't know. I'm figuring this out just like everybody else here. Again, new territory. And I'm fascinated by this. Because you can look up, if you want some homework, Good Karma Brands. Look up a ton of articles over the last several months and see the model that they've been building. They're trying to reinvent radio, reinvigorate radio, if you will, but making different moves. And I'm all for that. I don't know if I fully understand it. Some of it I do. Some I'm still kind of looking at it and go, okay, let's see how this goes. It's got to change because the way radio's been done, it's been proven with all these layoffs and companies being delisted off the stock exchange because they're not making any money.
Yeah.
They got to do something. Radio, television, social media is all on a trajectory where it's all going to become the same entity. You're going to do everything all at the same time. And then it's going to be split up into manageable chunks, bite-sized pieces, if you will, for social media and consuming everywhere else.
And we're going to call it Quibi.
It could even whittle down to little chunks of video clips playing on the TV while you're waiting at an airport. Or if you're in the cab, if you have one of those cabs that has, like in New York and LA or DC, that has the little TV monitors in the back and they're showing you local weather and all the stuff. They have an affiliate tie-in with ABC, NBC, whatever it is. And you're going to get
Circle K has that at the pump. They have the little screens at the pump now. And it's like, oh, okay, this is, thanks, Marie Munoz. I'm trying to fill up my car, but this, the 30 to 50 seconds I'm here filling up my car, that you're right. They could be just little chunks right there. I don't know.
All right, let's continue on with this.
The final episode of Josh Cohen and the Home Team, live on ESPN 106.3 FM radio. Josh Cohen and the Home Team itself is not disappearing forever. I'll get back to you on when and where you can consume that. That's not important right now.
His co-host
What's important is to understand
so
that I am going to be.
I clipped this video down because it was their whole show, but yeah, shortly after this announcement, she's crying.
Heading up original content and shows that are exclusive to our ESPN West Palm YouTube Play channel, because the times have changed and consumption and how people and where they get what it is that amuses, entertains, and engages them. Still going to be here at ESPN West Palm. Still going to be here in South Florida. Sometimes live, sometimes packaged in podcast for you to pause, rewind. All those details will come.
Okay, so it's going, all right. It is going digital. The only thing I'm not fully understanding is in the other markets, they got rid of the FM frequency. Are they doing it here or not? Are they keeping the frequency here and just putting prepackaged material on the station instead of live?
It sounds like they're keeping the FM branding and they're just going to repackage the stuff that they throw out digital. Because it's not like, okay, we're done. The station doesn't exist. This is where you have to come find us now.
Yeah.
This is, well, no, this, as you know it, will not be live here. We're going to go here, and you might hear some of that stuff here at a different time, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. Like, that's what it's the flow chart of how this is all working is where I'm getting lost.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to brand this or package this or put it out there for consumption? Like, I don't understand it. Because you're right. If it was a FM channel issue and you don't want to, re-up the licensing, sure. It's money saving. I get it. But it sounds like they're spending the money, but also doing something different. And it just doesn't make sense that way. Because why not do the live and then chop it up for the other shit?
Yeah, I don't...
It seems backwards.
I don't really...
I don't know. It's so weird.
It is weird. It's a unique situation. I'll definitely say that.
Right?
I don't know. I don't know. All right, continue.
I'll let you know, not abandoning you, not giving up, not going away. Instead, just evolving with the times of what it is and how it is.
I almost feel bad for him because it's like he almost doesn't understand what's happening either, but he has to explain it.
Josh is a good businessman.
Yeah.
And he's probably, to his strength and sometimes to my disgust, one of the more positive people that I've known in my life. He'll figure out what's going on here, but you're right. It's like maybe they did blindside them with this. Because the other article,
I'd like to know when he found out.
The other article, the guy before him said it because I guess this is goodbye for me on ESPN 106.3. So it's just like,
he's done.
Were they told today? That's like, hey, you get to do a last show, but here's the things if we want to keep paying you, and
here's the guideline. Try to fit it in within this.
Yeah,
because like this doesn't seem like something he knew for a while. I mean, at best, he found out the day before after wrapping up his live show, and said, "Hey, this is how this is going to go tomorrow. This is what you got to explain."
Yeah.
And to do it on a Tuesday, that just seems really weird. Like, finish the week, and be done with it. Like, I just don't understand this the Tuesday bit.
I don't either. I don't know. Well, we'll keep tabs on that. All right. More clips here for you. So now we're going to go over to... It's harder to do it this way, but it works with the audio, I guess. My friend Sean Wasson, who hosts a program called The News Junkie out of Orlando, that 104.1 station where the Monsters are, but he's syndicated on several other stations. I think in Florida and then maybe another state or two. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'll just say he's regionally syndicated somewhere down there. But he was trying to figure out some of this stuff too, because he just saw Josh's stuff and he's like, yeah, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but some interesting clips on radio here, so figured to share this with you. Let's take a listen.
Strange, sometimes in radio, when people retire, it's just a sayonara for good. Yeah. You just you don't ever hear from them again.
Well, I mean, the nature of the job is that you hear from them nonstop. And so at some point, usually a retirement, a retirement that you choose to do, as opposed to one that you're kind of pushed into. Usually, that's when you know, I'm not going to hear much from this person anymore.
I'm never going away all the way until I'm gurgling my last gurgles. I'm not going to fade away like that. I would want to.
And you'll still go live.
Yes, hell yeah, I would. I have it in my blood. This is what I love to do. I can't see, and maybe it's because I'm not old enough yet. And even though I've got,
you
some
are
years,
curmudgeon enough. I mean, you got that.
It's just natural to me. That just comes naturally.
Seeing any similarities so far?
I don't want to say anything, but
known Sean 20.
Oh, he's wearing the shirt I want too.
23 years. Is that the horror?
That's
version?
the horror one.
That's the one I told you about.
I need to get that shirt. I just noticed it too. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, I want that shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. You'll notice this too, because this is a lot like me.
Worse as you get older, or you've already reached peak curmudgeon?
I don't know about me, but I think in general, people tend to get more and more and more and more locked into their ways as time goes on.
You don't get old guy mad just yet.
No, not well.
Parallel.
I get mad like people might interpret it to be old guy mad, but it's usually just Sean is right mad, and there's a lot of dumb people floating around him right now. Not to say you. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the dispatcher.
I'm talking about Jordan.
Or whoever's yip yapping, chatting over on the stream.
The fans.
I love
is another word for dispatchers.
I
is
love
our
them,
fans.
but sometimes they're a little bit on the wrong side of things.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No, and it's okay to admit it. Everybody else is wrong.
I love the listeners, but sometimes you're dumb. Sometimes I dumb, but sometimes you're dumb.
A little bit on the wrong side. Yeah, the folks in West Palm, there was a point where that station was everything. When I was young, when I was a little kid, I called in. They used to have, oh, damn it.
Hey, I'm Sean. Scooter. We can call me Scooter.
On the Love Doctors, they used to just randomly take calls. They'd call it the Quickies.
The Love Doctors were the afternoon drive time show. Again, a legacy show in that market. Had been around since the 80s or something.
And they'd shoot through them without screening, as we've done before on the show many times. And
let me know if this sounds familiar to you, Jordan.
I called as a kid. I've told the story before a long time ago. But we were kids. We were kids listening to talk radio, which was weird enough to begin with. How many young kids, 14 years old, are listening to talk radio? Very few nowadays.
Listen to morning shows.
Yeah, that is sad.
I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a 14-year-old lad listening to talk radio. I got into it later on, maybe in my 20s when I was, doing I have to be an adult and commute to a job, or I was working at a car dealership where we had the radio on,
right?
To keep us company, especially stuff like that. So that's when my foray into talk radio. And then when Chad's show, Big O and Dukes, was out here for Free FM, that's when I kind of discovered that portion of talk radio, because I listened to Art Bell, the late night stuff when I would have my closing up the
people, that's not listening to talk radio, but a lot of people listen to Art Bell because it was just batshit crazy.
But that was my foray into I'm not listening to music talk or morning show. It was just talk, just straight talk radio. There wasn't talk between songs. There wasn't talk. This was just talk, and it was I wish I would have got into it at a younger age.
Right.
Maybe that's better.
No, not really. I mean, you get into it. Look, there's things I've gotten into last week. Leon Redbone We got into Leon Redbone. Leon Redbone has been dead since 2019, has been a musical legend since the 70s. And what did we know him for? The Mr. Belvedere theme and the all commercial.
And the all commercial,
right?
I know.
And we didn't really start fully appreciating him and getting into him 5 years after the man has passed.
Yeah.
But then seeing other work that he's done, be it advertisements or music or performances, and appreciating him now. So there's no problem about like when fans gatekeep shit. It's like, I've been a fan since the beginning and you're just like it now. So fuck you. I'm better than you. It's like, how about you just like, hey, here's some things that if you really want to get into this, here's some things you should check out.
Oh, I love the times that you and I and Rob sit there all night talking
Hollywood
about bits.
Agent Rob Stark. Yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood Agent Rob Stark. And, you guys will go on your tear of, remember this bit, you remember this bit.
Oh, from Howard.
And then I get inundated with link after link after link. You got, this is your homework. And it's like, okay.
To listen
and
to
I'll
it.
listen to, like when Patrice was talking about, like watching movies and certain things. And it's like, I love just not discovering it, but like living it through you guys and your excitement for it. And then I get to hear it. So I got a little bit better frame of reference. It's just actually really fun.
It is fun.
I'm just glad you gave me that hard drive with all the O&A for free. I didn't even have to pay for it. You just handed it over. It was nice. Thanks for that.
That is not the case, but I have linked you to things.
There has been a few things.
I have linked you to things for you to check out. I had this come to reality moment. Growing up, listening to radio, and when I would talk to people who I listened to forever, and I would ask them some things, and they didn't remember half the shit that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I always found that kind of weird. I'm like, how do you not remember these were big things? Having gone through my time with Scott and Todd, going through my time with Opie and Anthony, and then, to an extent, not working on their show, but being with Ron and Fez. Ron and Fez were on immediately after us. Everywhere we went. So while our show was done and working in the back and do whatever, I'm there. So I might as well have been working on Ron and Fez, being around there.
Right.
And remembering things and not remembering things. And then when I see fans, when they write stuff, that were fans of these shows, or they bring some things up, sometimes I'm like, I don't remember that. Oh, it was there in this here. Okay, yeah, all right. I remember the wider range of that memory. I don't remember the specifics of it.
Do you find that you have to be reminded of something and then it floods back, like it clicks
sometimes
with you?
Not all the time, but sometimes, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it was during this and this. What else?
And then you'd be like, oh,
what else was going on? Oh,
right.
This was going on. Okay, now I can kind of ballpark it a bit about what the time frame was for doing the show and what they're talking about. I have gotten to the point, unless I have to cut something up to bring, over to Anthony or if I'm putting him up online for something, I've got that thing now where I can't listen to the stuff. It doesn't matter how good it is. Like there's some Patrice bits I always think about. I'm like, I should go back and listen to it. If I start playing it, I turn it off. It's like, I can't listen to this. I was there for it. I'm trying to remember it, but I can't listen to it. There's some kind of stigmatism now where I can't remember it anymore.
It's just trauma. Just trying to block out the trauma.
That is a very fair point. It could be that. But yeah, I've hit that wall now where I've done that. Anyway, back to Sean's stuff here, the News Junkie. By the way, I got to also correct myself. So the News Junkie is on in Orlando, West Palm Beach, but he's up in Rochester, New York. They syndicate him there. And he's on in Dallas. So I'm going to have to check out his Dallas station because I'm going back out there in about a month or so to do more stuff out there.
I was going to say, Aaron was just out there too.
I'll have to go and see what his Dallas station is out there and say howdy, y'all. But anyway, I bring this clip up because I like the fact that even though we're worlds apart, Sean's on the same wavelength as I am as of being borderline curmudgeon, not always agreeing with everything going on, but the love for talk radio is seated within us from a very young age, where he's about to, I think that he's about to explain here that he was calling in as a kid.
I remember because I was on the way to school
Yeah, with talking and music.
Next clip.
More like a mix of that.
But sit on the phone and wait to get on the air.
Mm-hmm.
That was Radio Disney, baby.
Yep. That was the day.
Made it twice and won a Furby one time.
There you go.
All right. Well,
I called into a few prize lines every now and then, but you're right. You would sit there on hold, and you can kind of like, if you were lucky, they ported the show through your head, like through your earpiece, so you could listen as you were going, so you knew you were coming on. But sometimes I would just be sitting there,
right?
And like, ugh.
But he has an appreciation of it. He used to call in at a young age. I called in when I was 5 years old to radio, and then that kind of hooked me. You know, that's where I always wanted to be a part of it.
You got that rush of being on the air. You're like, that's me. That was me. Like, you can tell your friends I was on the radio.
Yeah, but you could hear yourself. Like, most of those shows, at least in New York, were on delay. So by the time I finished the call, I could go back and then I'd hear it after the commercial break or the music, because they pre-recorded the call or whatever they did. And then you had it on cassette, because now you could show your friends. Your friends never cared, by the way. You think comic books and action figures and stuff were nerdy at the time? You call into the radio and like, here's me on the radio. No one gives a fuck that you called into the radio. In fact, they are right to mock you or ignore you, to fully ignore you and never acknowledge you even said anything to them. They are right to do so. I think this is in this clip here. He's talking about how he wants to go and put together a live event and bring back a lot of these old shows for like a live theater event, just to talk to them about, you know, their time with the show and what they're doing now and everything, which is always great. I love seeing those things when they bring them back together here. Let's see what he says.
A lot of those guys are still around somewhere, but it would be interesting to see them brought back into the fold.
What's the Greaseman doing these days?
Oh,
is he alive?
Is he alive? I don't know.
Greaseman's still with us?
Yeah, he's doing promos for It's Eric Nagel.
Bring all these folks back. We can, through our friend Eric Nagel, maybe we can reignite the Opie and Anthony flames and see what it's like.
People have been trying for that for a while.
Of course, you got Opie without an ounce of talent in his body, and Anthony he's just so swimming in the racism deep end that he can't control himself now.
It says Greaseman is still alive.
Is he? Oh, Greaseman. Yeah, out there. I've only heard your show one time. Or a YouTube clip, I think, is what I saw of the Greaseman.
Yeah. Greaseman's
that is
still
so
around.
funny. Look, I mean, I gotta say, like, the old O&A fan base, they are rabid for just the stories. I mean, just look when you went on Chrissy's show the other day, like how you guys were really gonna get into some of the older bits and things like that. I'm sure people just love to hear that stuff. We could devote an entire show of just talking about that kind of stuff. And
we're not going to, but
no, screw you guys.
We could. For Sean and any of his fan base, the news junkies out there, if you're happening to check this out and whatever, and if you want to know about the Greaseman, well, the Greaseman has retired. He's long been retired. He's living his life, drinking bone dries and sailing around on the good ship Grease and just living
down
what the kids called his best life. Sailing through the sunsets down Old Mexico Way. But he did resurface recently.
Rare sighting.
Rare listening, if you will. Yaddle deedle doodle die. Where the Greaseman made a return and made this.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am the Greaseman, and I've been all over this country. New York, L.A., San Francisco, Atlanta, Jacksonville. I've been up and down D.C., and all that while, I had a buddy who I didn't know I had. Eric Nagel's been following me, listening, learning at the feet of the master, and now he's here with his own podcast that I am thrilled to introduce. It's not a scintillating thing. It's an educational thing. It's not something that'll make you angry. It's something that'll make you think. And that's the most important thing of all. So, if I may, and it is my distinct pleasure to say, ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear, it's Eric Nagel. Take it away, my buddy.
That's such a good voice for this.
It's so
like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you were blessed with the right type of pipes for this medium, and the fact that you get to just retire and not do this anymore is kind of a bummer. Because like this was recent.
Well,
it sounds great.
It's a mixed bag about why he retired, because he did what he could, I guess, but he had a few missteps along the way where he got fired in a grandiose way twice for racial commentary.
Oh, no, not him.
Yeah. We won't get into that, but he's had a history. And so it wasn't really good for when he was making his comeback. And then he was on some stations. He was doing what he could. And then I think he just finally decided to hang it up. Yeah. Had he not had those missteps, I think he would have gotten the big retirement send-off. Because, look, to this day, obviously older than Opie and Anthony fans or Howard fans stuff. But to this day, you still hear people talk about him. Talk about, if they were into radio, they know the Greaseman, whether they like him or whether they hate him. They know. Like, people would listen to him because they love him. People would listen to him because they hated him. He had the Howard thing. People knew his bits, knew his cadence. Yeah, Anthony doing it forever. Yaddle deedle doodle day. That whole thing like there, just his ridiculousness. People loved him. He's a legend. He should have had a bigger send-off than he did, but, things happen. All right.
And you were talking about Don Imus. And today's the anniversary of
he was terrible.
Him saying
yes. It's the anniversary. We'll play that next. It's the anniversary of Don Imus saying nappy-headed hose.
And the funny thing is, we'll go to it, but it's more than that. Like the clip that I saw went a little further. I'm like, oh, okay. So it wasn't just the nappy-headed hose comment.
No, it was the nappy-headed hose comment. He got he got a little slap on the wrist for something else.
Yeah.
But it's the nappy-headed hose thing with the Rutgers basketball team that...
No, I'm just saying, like, that clip is not just nappy-headed hose is what got him... Like, if you keep listening, they kept going with it, the bit, and then it was just like, ooh, it's a little awkward.
Yeah, I have some stuff. We'll get to that.
Okay.
the nappy-headed hose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he got hit hard with that. And then it built his career back up again afterwards.
On Auction Channel, 10:30 Imus in the morning auctions coming up.
It was like Imus, and then it was like you could buy cattle afterwards. And he had a stupid-ass cowboy hat and that stethoscope headset that he would wear.
Yep.
And I would listen to
I think he
that.
had to wear the stethoscope headset. Because traditional headphones would get in the way of the cowboy hat.
You can't wear them at the same time. It just doesn't work. But I've told you many times, my true inspiration in radio was Neil Rogers.
In the morning, Deidre showed me her sweater meat this morning.
Neil Rogers was a genius way before his time and was just everything. And that guy, my boss at the water company, made me listen to Neil Rogers. And I was like, who is this lunatic? And then I was like, oh, I see the genius. I see what this guy is doing. He was the best of the best. But only the people I listened to, I usually would hate listen to shows. And I would hate listen to Opie when he had his satellite radio show. And I first got my car and it had free satellite radio in it. And I would just turn it on because it was the worst thing I'd ever heard. Like, it was so bad. And I knew that somebody was making millions and millions of dollars to do this job, and they were that bad. And it blew my mind, honestly. Like, it blew my mind that it could get to that low of a quality at that high of a level. And then I would listen to Imus on podcast in his last 6 months or so, because Imus at the time was sick, and he kept having these coughing fits. And he would hit the button and it'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, Imus is in the middle of his coughing fit right now.
Oh, my gosh. Is there audio of this?
I don't know, but it would be like...
Imus.
Did he have like a coughing drop?
It would be like, Imus can't talk to you right now. He's in the middle of one of his coughing fits. Maybe Deidre can come down the stairs with a breast dangling around and wake him up once more. and he'd be like, what, dude? And, like, there was 12 other people on the show.
6 figures.
If I went into a coughing fit right now, Sabrina would start talking, or Celine would start talking, and you guys would like cover for me, hopefully. He had 12 people or so on his show, and he'd be like, Imus is coughing right now.
That's what I'm going to do next time you cough.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that. I went to visit that studio. It was across the street from Madison Square Garden when he left MSNBC. He was still on the radio. He's still on CBS Infinity Broadcasting. They were still syndicating him nationally. He didn't lose his radio. Yes, he did. Sorry. He lost his radio gig from The Fan. He was syndicated out of The Fan, which is the big sports station in New York.
Right.
He moved to ABC Radio. after he got let go of the Fan, and then he got let go. His simulcast was on MSNBC. So then he gets the ABC radio deal, nationally syndicated again. They put him on, I forgot the name of the fucking network, but it's exactly as they were describing. It was like soy futures and livestock commercials and John Deere tractor ads. It was some kind of rural network thing. And then eventually they made a deal to move him to Fox Business, and he was simulcasted on Fox there. I went to that studio. I'm trying to see if I have photos of it.
It's so crazy. He was actually born in Riverside, California, which is not far from where I was born in California.
Right.
And then he lived in Kingman and Prescott, Arizona, which is a little bit more north of Phoenix, like maybe about an hour.
Right.
It's just weird that he's just this. I didn't know this much about him.
Here we go. There it is. That's the set he's talking about. It was built like his ranch out in New Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to say he had a New Mexico ranch.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So while I was looking for that photo, I found something else that's rare that I don't think the public has ever seen.
Okay.
Imus did a live event. Wasn't aired anywhere. It was just live at the Hard Rock in New York City. It was a live theater show with Imus, Sean Hannity, and Opie and Anthony.
Oh, wow.
So here's a photo. I'm in the green room with this, so I'm just snapping photos as they're all just talking and hanging out.
I love that everyone adopted, except for Opie, the blazer jeans combo.
Right.
Because like the look.
It's casual, but it's dressed up. You know, you
Right.
can go sit in a nice restaurant. You look okay if you have to hop on television or something. He's wearing some kind of like third-hand Goodwill Army jacket that he found, and probably
Right.
like his rotting Puma sneakers that he used to tape. When the rubber sole would fall out, he'd have tape on the back of the things. Millionaire, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say like he's saving a buck.
Look at
Look
that.
at those boots on Imus.
When do you think you would ever see this? And you'll never see it again. You'll never see.
No.
Well, one, Imus is dead. Two, these two don't talk to each other. But
sheesh.
Yeah, right. That's something.
Wow.
A little radio history there for you. Now, I
Is
looked
this
all
his
over.
apology one or
No, it's both.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
So I looked over. It's amazing. So this was 2008. I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly. There is no better copy of this. It's all shit copies.
Every copy I found, the video quality looks like someone grabbed it from an old Betamax
And threw it
It's
through Real
horrifying.
Player. Yeah, it's just
Exactly.
this postage stamp of a thing. This
Yeah,
is
no,
the
I
best
tried.
I could find. I apologize, but here it is.
It's
Girls from
2007.
Rutgers, man, they got tattoos and some hardcore hoes. That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now. Man, that's some... Ooh. And the girls from Tennessee, they all look cute, you know, so... Like, kind of like a... I don't know.
Spike Lee thing.
Yeah.
The Jigaboos versus the Wannabes.
Yeah,
that movie that he
That's what I was talking about.
Do the right
I
thing.
do
don't know
not
why
remember
they
that
wanted to
part.
beat Rutgers or
Right.
not, but they did, right? On Friday, I apologize for some remarks that I
my
made
bad.
and others made, but particularly ones that I made.
He took his hat off because it's serious.
Yeah,
On
this
program
is
to
his
the women's
apology
basketball
video.
team at Rutgers University, and it was a straight.
I did not hear the other. I did not remember the other line.
Yeah, he was. It was basically saying that this is the Wannabes, and then I'm like, oh, he doubled down on that one because the nappy-headed hose is what got attention.
Right, but the nappy-headed hose got the attention and caused all of this stuff. The
Right.
other line, who I don't know who said the other line. Who
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Who was the sports guy that was on his show? Warner Wolf?
I don't know. Well, they had to say the clip said they had someone on the phone with them, so it could have been him, but I don't know.
Well, they had Sid Rosenberg on the phone, who wound up taking over after Imus retired. It was Sid
Right.
and
Marty Croft.
Oh, Marty Croft. Yes, just big Imus puppets.
Just
all
Sid
over the
Marty
place.
Croft.
Yeah, Sid was on the phone, but it was somebody in the studio that said that. It wasn't
Oh,
Sid.
okay.
Remarks that I made and others made, but particularly ones that I made, on this program to the women's basketball team at Rutgers University. And it was a straightforward apology that Charles and I wrote, and I didn't I didn't think it was necessary to offer any excuse. No, I don't think there is now. I didn't think there was any need for me to put into any sort of context what happens on this program, because I unwisely just assumed that everybody knows, and obviously they don't. And I didn't think it was important to talk about what I do with my life, what my wife does with her life, and who I am, because I thought it was important that I apologize to these young women and to that coach and to their parents and to you for what.
Oh, that's where it cuts off. Well, that was his. That
was the after apology video.
There was another apology. We used to play the clips on OA where Imus goes, "I'm sorry, I did that. I didn't mean to do that," or something like along those lines.
That's just crazy.
Radio is just nonsense in every direction. Good, bad, whatever. So look, we did a little bit of walk here of shit that's been going on. Mostly it was Florida, but we'd see like one case we saw.
Yeah, but they're not the only one affected. Like a lot of other markets are doing the same kind of crap all over.
Right. But in one case we saw where somebody's been there 20 something years, co-host of a very successful morning show. After a Friday show, management just like, "Okay, we need to talk to you for a second." And then he has to turn around and go back in the studio, shake hands. It was a pleasure working with you. We'll see you later. And that's it. That's terrible. Then we've got a new side of the coin, which is now it's turning into like a multi-sided die. It's not even a coin anymore. There's now new angles that are developing. Where in Josh's case, the station, which I thought the company sells off their FM stuff, but I don't know if they're selling off this thing, if they're reversing him to being digital content that they'll air on the radio.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out that thing out.
And again, I don't think he does either. Like, that's the weird thing about it is that I don't think he's got all the details yet, and they're not giving him all the details.
It's off-putting and yet exciting. Not that he or anybody else there lost their gigs, which I don't fully know if they did or not. But just to see, I'm like, this is a new dynamic. This is a new approach. This is something that we haven't seen before. So I don't know how this works or how it will work out. So from being a spectator, I'm very intrigued by it. Like, I'm going to be paying attention to it and seeing what happens down there.
Yeah, because this could have been a straightforward canceling the show or a firing, and it would make sense because you've seen it happen.
Right.
This is, everyone kept their job. They just don't know what the job is going to be.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Doesn't make any sense. But alas, there we have. So let's end the show with a bit of a palate cleanser.
Ooh.
Something
a bit of sorbet for the soul.
Something to maybe lighten up the mood. The Pat McAfee show. You know who Pat is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Very, very controversial in some stuff.
Really? How so?
During the football season.
The Aaron Rodgers stuff.
He had a lot of Aaron Rodgers just showing up and doing stuff. And Aaron's got a bit of an opinion on a lot of things that doesn't really mesh well with a lot of other people. So it's been fun to watch all that play out.
I'm going to show you this clip from the other day on the Pat McAfee show. Pat McAfee, national radio show, got bought up by ESPN not too long ago. He's on ESPN stuff. Also ties with the WWE. He's shown up for pay-per-views. He wrestled in last year's WrestleMania. So imagine my excitement when I hear they're talking about WrestleMania and they're looking up a thing about Cody Rhodes. And the slogan for the Cody Rhodes promotion for the last year and a half has been let him finish the story, because he wants to get the heavyweight championship as an honor for his dad, who's, if you don't know who his dad is, Dusty Rhodes, legendary wrestler. He's never had the title. He wants the title. He's going to go do it. And he lost WrestleMania last year. So people were still saying, let him finish the story. And he talked about how he hates that slogan. He hates that term, doesn't want to use it, but people keep insisting on saying that.
Right.
So they're trying to find the source, and it turns out it was on the Sam Roberts show, his wrestling, not Sam Wrestling. Sam used to work with on Opie and Anthony, does mornings, is a morning show on Sirius XM. Also a correspondent and not pundit, but correspondent and occasional person that they put in for documentaries and things. I don't know what that position's called, but he's there time to time doing a lot of stuff with the WWE. So they find out it was on Sam's show. So during the show, Pat goes, I'll just FaceTime Sam. What could happen?
It's a good bit.
Yeah.
Why not?
What could happen? Let's take a look.
What's up? Hey, did Cody Rhodes say we're live? We're live.
Hey. What's up, world?
This guy's delivering something for Amazon. That's very nice of you. Appreciate you, Sam.
It's not even standing for the travel.
That's pretty good.
I'm frontline service.
Yeah, very kind of you. Hey, Cody Rhodes said that he hates the line, finish his story. That was from a year ago, right? Is that still a thing or no? It was on your show.
You know, I think...
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Of course.
You lost it. We lost you.
Stand for your trouble, Pete. I sent it in from...
Jesus.
Oh,
Sam,
my God. Sam.
Boo. I just sent
Sam,
it
you're
in.
getting booed out of the building.
Boo.
That's so funny.
It made me so happy.
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, great for Sam.
He had his moment. He could promote from this. He's featured.
It's exactly the way it should have happened.
And the internet screws him over.
An impromptu calling.
I'm going through a tunnel.
On a major national show.
Right.
Millions of people watch and listen to this. And that's what happens. And I could not have been happier.
That is so good. That is so funny.
Like I said,
that's perfect. No, that is perfect.
We ended on a positive note.
That is positive.
We're all going home happy, everybody. Best of luck to Sam and all that stuff. But that's exactly what should have fucking happened.
That is funny.
We do need to get out of here. We got to do the plugs. So, Jordan, as always, our nation's eyes turn to you.
Come check out my other show, I'll Watch It Later podcast, where we watch older movies or even newer movies that we probably should have seen by now and talk about them, rate them, and go through all of that. We this month we are doing listener submissions, so we are going to be watching a few things. We just watched actually a Tom from Alberta movie. God, what was it? It was
not interesting enough to remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the title. It's a generic title. It's a Jeff Goldblum movie from like '86. It was not bad.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, no, God, that's a stupid movie. But you can check us out on Instagram, Watch Later Pod. You can check us out on YouTube. We
Death Wish 3.
Death Wish 5. I wish I were dead. But yeah, come check us out on YouTube, I'll Watch It Later podcast, and then you can find me on YouTube or anywhere else at Jinx Run.
All right. As for me, it's Eric Nagel across the board and all the that's your tag. I don't want to promote. There we go. It's Eric Nagel across the board on all the social medias. If you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, thank you very much for doing so. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, any places you're getting on demand, do us a kindness. Go over there and leave us a positive review. It does help out the program and gets the word out there. And if you tell two friends,
and he tells two friends, and she tells two friends, and so on and so on and so on,
it gets the word out there, and we will be forever in your debt. And you can also join us live each and every week as we do the show in our live rooms over on YouTube and on Twitch, all under It's Eric Nagel. And the produced video, the final video, if you missed the live stream, it's all there on our YouTube channel. You can go back there if you heard the audio version, you want to see what we're talking about. Definitely will help for this particular episode. Go over to the YouTube channel and watch it all there. Okay, I think that's it. We're good. We're done, right?
We are done.
We started super late. We are ending super late. I got to figure out how we're going to present this show, but we'll make it happen. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Till the next time, everybody.
Be excellent to each other.
And we'll be seeing you.
It's Eric Nagel.
Yeah, we got a lot of emails about that.
Any of them supportive? Not many. Your target audience is dicks, 18 to 34.
Alas, we're out of time.
Follow It's Eric Nagel on social media platforms. For ways to watch and listen to the show, or join us for the live shows, head over to itsericnagel.com.
Yo, and remember to tell 2 friends so they can tell 2 friends, and they can tell 2 friends, they can tell 2 friends, they can tell 2 friends. You get the idea.
Keep it real, homies.